grain of wheat doesn't die, it will not multiply. So there's a principle in the Bible that is used many times about agriculture. And the agriculture, farming and everything is a great thing all over the world. I remember for a couple of years ago I had a bishop from Tanzania. We were traveling from Chicago and up to Haslund here, and he was so surprised because that was the first time he has been in America. And it's all farmland, he said. I thought it was all city and business and everything, and that's how the American got their wealth, that is by doing business. So no, they are farmers. Nobody is born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They had to work hard from the beginning of. And then we can do that. He said, yes, you can do that because Africa has a lot of potential of farmland. I have a map up here, and that shows it's in Danish. This shows the potential of how much they grow today, and this is the potential like what Africa could grow. This is in Danish, and this is per ton per hectare. Hectare is a little bit more than 2 acres, so you have a little bit of figure how much that is. But before I go into this, I just want to present myself a little bit. I grew up in Denmark. That's a little tiny country up in Scandinavia. They call it the Garden of Scandinavia because we don't have the mountains and rocks and everything. It's all flat. The Swedes, they always tease us, say, if there's a strong wind, all Denmark will end into Sweden. But not yet. But we have a great country, and the main thing in Denmark is farming. Like Holland, there's a lot of expertise of farming in Denmark. And I grew up on a farm, and my dad, he was farmer, and his dad was farmer, and so on. So that's something that has gone on for generations. I also have early got a strong call from God to serve Him full time ministry. And I remember one day when I was 17 years old, an African pastor came to visit our home, my parents. He was from Ghana, and he came over to me and said, "You come to Africa and help us." He said, I said, yes, that's fine, thank you. But it's something, it left something inside here that God stirred up, and I understood that was my calling. Because when I looked upon those cornflakes in the morning at the breakfast table, I could see there was a corn. I've never seen corn in my life. Denmark, we don't grow corn. We do now, because the climate has become a little bit warmer. But I grew up on barley farms, not on corn farms. So, but there was something that pulled me to this, there's something more in farming and something more than just what I could see. And this calling about Africa was inside of me for a long time until God talked to me and said, now is the time. And I got a calling to come to Africa and start a farm project. And then I understood why God has put that into my heart. And I really saw how rich this country was, even though the people with the mouth said, we are poor, we don't have anything, we can't do anything. And I said, you're a liar. You have all this land, you have all this area, and you say you are poor. You can't do anything. And it was my calling to try to show what you can do with the blessings you have. And we started out clearing we got 200 acres from the government in Tanzania, connected to that Bible school, and it was the plan that this field should feed the Bible school with food because it was so expensive for them to buy food. So if we could produce it, we could produce corn, beans, and different kinds of crops. Then the Bible school will be able to survive. that year we came down there, they had 7 students on 1 year. So that was, you know, close to the last breath of death or something like that. But the year after, it had 400 students. So it quickly turned around, and we got this farm up running, and it has been a blessing until today. So this was a great input to get this Bible school running, because the supply of food and also finances. Because there are two things that I think should focus on. The first important thing is food supply. We need food as human beings, we need food, and then we need finances. So if you have a food crop, and then you have a cash crop, and that can also help you to have some kind of rotation, because when I came to Tanzania in '84, they grew corn and corn and corn and corn and corn, and they became smaller and smaller because they got some sickness, root sickness and everything, and they didn't know what was the problem. So you have to have something to rotate with. So we introduced sunflower. I said, well, there's no market for sunflower. We can't sell the seed. So I bought a oil press from Germany, and we started producing sunflower cooking oil in the village. That was the first time either they had the government had to buy the sunflower seed, send it all the way to Mbeya, that's 500 miles away, and when they produced it, they will maybe get the money, and sometimes they did never get the money, so people just lost faith in producing something else. So I started the small oil press in the village, and people started growing sunflower, and right away you saw the corn get longer and longer because they had a crop in between, and that helped them to produce better. My good friend, he met a member of parliament for a couple of years ago, and when he presented, you know, yeah, we were the one that started down at Sanjaranda in Itigi, that is in Tanzania. Oh, you were the one that started this with the sunflower. It has spread all over the country. So I said, wow. So they recognize that what we started in the small steps, they recognize it as a global thing, that we have started the idea of having small oil press. So every village in an area, big area in Tanzania, every village has their own small sunflower sunflower press where they can produce cooking oil. So when the road system is bad, then the infrastructure is bad, then you need to have something locally where people can come and bring the stuff and get it back quite quick. Now we think about the kingdom, agriculture in the kingdom. I believe that a lot of churches are blessed. The church's business is God's business, is preaching the gospel. And I believe the church should be blessed by people that are blessed with good farming, with being obedient in tidings. I've seen too many churches go into to doing business and doing themselves and having the board of elders. They talk more about how to run the crop instead of how to run the church. So it should be private people that have the business and the farming, and the church should live off the tidings. That's how I think it. Of course, churches have land, something, so then put young men to run that, and don't use a lot of energy of running the farm of the church. Well, anyway, I think that there's a lot of potential in farming in areas. I have a small DS show here, or some video clips from my time in Africa, and especially the latest time, because it came back in 14. I was in Haslund, and I met Pastor Charlie for the first time, and we presented something about what we were doing in Africa, and Pastor Charlie said, well, that's just down my aisle, he said, and it's that's what and next year he said, I can help you. I want to help you. So say, we have a bulldozer, I will give you a bulldozer, and can you get more land? And we have send a combine and a disc harrow or what you need, so that you can expand. Because we were in that problem that for 20 years back, it was easy to get 200 people to harvest by hand. You paid them a decent salary for it, and everything was harvested in a few days. But today, it's not so easy to get labor as much as that time. That's a good problem, because many have their own farms, so that's actually good. So actually we want to step forward to do something more than just small-scale farming, but more big-scale farming or middle-scale farming or something like that. Excuse me. So Pastor Charlie said, well, I can help you, and he had this vision about getting more land. And what I saw many places in Africa was that many places they cut down the bush, and then they burn it, and then they grow it for 3 or 4 years, and then they pronounce it dead forever. The land is dead, and it becomes desert. And so I said, no, it's not dead. It just needs some fertilizer. Fertilizer, what is that? And someone has spread a rumor that fertilizer kills actually plants. That's because they take a handful of NPK and put it into with the seed, and then it never comes out. So they don't know how to dose it right. So the poverty is not a lack of money, it's a lack of knowledge. It's not a lack of money, it's a lack of knowledge. And I see there's a great potential of training people, and we have been training people out from the Bible school about agriculture since 84. But now this time we had to expand it, and Pastor Charlie helped us a lot by giving us some equipment so that we could take that land that was dead and turn it into something productive. It's not a job without challenges, and people have stood beside the line and said, well, do you think they will succeed? No. But we are moving forward, and we see the land that was dead is getting alive again. Let me show some of this video clip here, and I will talk when it goes on here. And if you have some questions afterwards, please come with them so I can answer them. Hopefully I can answer them. So here we go. At the Bible school we have the leader, the principal, John Tu and Ambayu, and they were here the first time here. You see them here. They were here at Haslund, and they benefited a lot from that. So yes. And this was the team, I think that was in 14. The first team from Haslund came to Africa, to Sangeranda. And this is what I call the super team. Just to be humble. This is Bjarne, he's from our church. He has been in Africa, he's put them up, he's engineer. He's put up a big factories for cassava roots, starch. Powder is used a lot in food production all over the world. So that's a great thing, it's a great help for Africa. Werner, he's the missionary in Sangeranda right now, and he is the practical man on the field right now. Chris Paul, you know him, a good friend of me, and here, and he is really, he's been down there 6 times now, and it's on his heart also about helping the farming in Africa. And then of course me standing there. And we have been working on that here. We put up a silo. We finished one I bought we got in Denmark. Here you see how the land is. That's what they say. This is. Let me go back again. This is what they say. Imekufa. That's what it means. It's dead. No, let me go back again here and hold it. Yes. this is how it looks like. They cut down the bush, burn it, and they leave the stumps, they leave the roots, and that you cannot even plow it with a cow. You can't do anything. You could just go and put some seed in the ground. Normally they have this millet they put in between, and then they get a little bit, and then they grow for 3 or 4 years, and then they say, "Imekufa, it's dead." So the challenge was, we can take this land that they call dead, and we can turn it to a land that is alive. We can get some soil tests, and we can see, and we also have some ideas about irrigation later on. We'll not come to that yet, but that is the plan. The bush looks like this. See here, that's how it looks. So it's actually it's not the rainforest. It's just something that had nature grown up by nature. People use it for firewood, and that's all. And here you see how they burn off so that was our challenge, how to turn this around. And the team from Haslund here, Thomsen, you know, and some other people here, I think you know them, came out and saw how the challenge was to turn this into farmland. And Pastor Charlie and Laurie, they helped us. He said here in his car, that was in '88, I want to give you a bulldozer. This bulldozer actually made the roads out here. So the combine was fixed on a frame and sent to Tanzania. So it was a high load, and they had to place a man on the top to lift up the electric wires so that it would not pull them down. So we were happy because we had some equipment that was needed very badly. And yes, it looks like brand new, but actually 20 years old. But for us, it was it's like a new combine. Not too much electronic, all that stuff. So we started clearing the roots out, pushing the roots out with this rake.
Tanzania has like a dry season and a wet season?
Yes,
okay.
And they have a small dry season. This is grown, and here then after the roots, we get the roots away, we disharrow it. And there's a lot of job also for people to take out the roots, small pieces of roots, so there's been a lot of job. The thing is, here we are planting different kinds of crops. This is actually, this one is some kind of peanut we're planting here. But the thing is that that this soil is kind of light soil. It is not the black heavy soil that we have on the other field. So it is a challenge. This is the sunflower. We have been growing sunflower. That's the old field. And this sunflower started getting sickness also. So we needed something else to come in between. So this is the first crop of corn on that light soil. You see how nice they are? But the problem was that we got a severe drought after that, and we got a severe attack of armyworms. I think you heard about armyworms. They take everything. Yeah. They reduced this harvest down to, they reduced it with 80%. See how they just took everything. That's how the corn looks like when we should harvest it. So it's not always success. Here I am in the classroom. I have 108 students of African farmers or want to be farmers or like to be farmers or tractor owners or something like that. So I had teaching of agriculture to those people, and they were excited. I also talked about this, how if you were, many said, but we don't have any money, we can't buy a tractor. So one buy a tractor and then rent it out and help the others getting the farmland done. 400,000 of young people in Tanzania every year finish a good education, but only a few percentage of them can get jobs in the cities. So there must be some young people that take the farm challenge on them. Not only small scale farming, but also middle scale and big scale farming. So that is our goal to teach them to do that. And of course it has a lot to do with training them how to maintain machinery, tractors and combines. We got some soil tests here in Haslund from Tony. He told us what was missing out in that field. So we and you saw the corn how it crumbled down. That was also because of acid soil. So this is a gypsum kind of lime that we have very close to, and we got young people here they were paid for every trip load, and then they drove it to those 6 miles out to the other field, and we got it loaded off there. 17 women, they got the job to spread this lime or this gypsum to this 100 acres. In 2 weeks, those ladies, they spread it 600 tons of,
Wow.
not 60 tons, 600 tons of lime. Here you see the field, this is the one direction, this is short direction, and then they have just spread it out, and we can see improvement on that field already now. It takes a while to get lime to get worked into soil, but here you see how far, and that down to that's the middle of the field. The end of that's only 1 kilometer. There's 2 kilometers. There's 1.25 mile long field. And the other direction, white is also 1.25 mile. So it's quite, this is 1,000 acres. Let me just explain a little bit to this picture here. Johanna Kolanti, he was here last year, I think, no, the year before, the pastor of the church. The kind of farming we want to train them in, because that soil is very bare, it's very open, and it's very the evaporation in daytime in the dry season is very, very big. So we have to something to cover up the soil. That's the plan, to get some humus back in the soil. He has done that principle on his cornfield at home and put some grass, some dry grass to cover up the bottom, and then put some manure in and some fertilizer. I think he has some NPK fertilizer from us. And now look how happy he is. He has these corns very tall. Compared to the neighbor, right behind his back, right beside his field, you see, and this is planted actually the same day. He said the same day, so you can see how small they are compared to his corn. So they will not produce much. To get something extra, we got this called safflower. I don't know if you know about safflower. It's a kind of very nutritious cooking oil or oil. It's used in many areas. But this crop is a thistle, and it is it's very what do you call it? Thorns on, and it's very hard to harvest by hand. So by having a combine, we could harvest it without any problems.
Right.
So when people start seeing us growing this thistle here, 600-800 acres of neighbors has started growing the same crop and ask us to come and harvest it by our combine. So not only our own fields, but this combine has been a blessing to the society that we could help them to harvest this safflower. It has a special thing. It has roots that go down in 10 feet and leave something in the soil that actually is beneficial can contain water. Because a lot of soil in Africa, when the rainy season comes, then the soil is so hard as concrete, and you have 93%. That's a test that I have done. 93% disappears of water. It runs off or it evaporates before the soil gets softened enough to take water. So if we leave the root system of these plants in the soil, it becomes more spongy or something like that. So this safflower we're growing. This is in April. This is in July, and then there's a picture later on in September. That is where we harvest it. That's how it looks when it's dry. This year was not so successful. It has not got any fertilizer. We didn't have any fertilizer. But anyway, it looks quite nice. But the seed was not so well in it. And this year we had a lot of spots because of compaction of the soil, because of drought. So here we see the combine harvesting these. We could make. Someone could say, why didn't you get a wider header? And that was because the roads are small out there. So if we had to pick it off, it could go with a 25-foot header. This is only a 15-foot header on this one. But it's okay. So it's really nice to harvest those pricky things with a combine. It's been working out. That's I think it's the 4th season it's going into now, and it functions well. It's 200 acres here of safflower. That was where you saw the sunflower before, and now we can grow corn after this, and we can grow something else. The seed is white. Yes. We just leave the straw on the. Yes. So this is being bagged up right away, because normally corn, when you right after harvest, the price is very low, and then if you wait and you store it, the price goes up and up and up and up. But this one you can sell for the high price right away, right after harvest. So that is a good thing for cash crop for people, because you can sell it and you have some money to pay the loan or what you have borrowed. And the thing is that people are very excited, and this by demonstrating it, this is when one of the neighbors, he has 40 acres. We have been harvesting. This is at a Catholic mission. They have over 100 acres of safflower. That is something like 20 miles away from our village. So here we have some of the sisters trying to put out a canvas, So they have been blessed. That's a big job to put out the canvas. Here we go. Yes. So this has been. We are trying to grow something else also called chickpeas, to see how they will do in that area. So we have 5 or 6. You know, by having a combine, you can move between many different crop Yes. This is only 2 weeks old. This picture. This is from the news channel, the new field you saw right before. We had the attack of these army worms this year, but Werner just sprayed it right away, so that they were killed. So we expect a quite good crop this year, and the rain has been good. We have had no drought this year. The other year it was too dry, and irrigation system would really have been a blessing. We're going to get that. Chris and me, we visited Kenya, and we were seeing those greenhouses. They're used a lot in Africa, in Kenya especially. We want to introduce that also in Tanzania. They have some in Tanzania, but that's where they can grow. In one house, they can grow 6 tons of tomatoes in one season, in 1 year.
Wow.
6 tons of tomatoes. They can grow eggplants, they can grow cucumber, they can grow a lot, because this is not, these houses is not for protecting, it's not for keeping hot air inside, it's for keeping the sun outside and insects. That's the main thing for these, because insects will destroy it. So you can grow inside there, and you have a drip irrigation inside, and then you can grow 3 or 4, 6 times, continuously. You can grow in those greenhouses. So here's some avocados also. We have some trees. We have a contact with someone in Sweden that wanna press cooking oil, make a factory to press not cooking oil but avocado oil, organic avocado oil, because that is used a lot in skin creams and in cosmetics. It's very good for the skin, they say.
Is it so this fair trade?
Yep.
Fair trade.
Fair trade, yes. So she will have a factory there and import the avocado oil to Sweden, and then sell it as fair trade, because there's no
direct.
It's right away. Yeah. So let me just this next picture, you see, that's the Bible school, and that's actually what it's all about. This Bible school was built for 124 students, but because the pressure of students has been expanded to 200 students, Werner, he welded some bunk beds, and then we could take some more people. And this is what it's all about. It's about preaching the gospel to people. And by the finances in the future of this field, we'll be able to have a lot of these crusades. This is back in, I think it's 15. Barton is preaching. A lot of people listening to the gospel. Shabaka. And this is last year here in August, where we had 600 pastors, leaders with their wives. The team here from Haslund was out and teaching. That was really a blessing. Yep. That's our missionaries there and me. We are back to the beginning now. Yes. Well, that was my small presentation of what's going on, but it's all about the kingdom. But there's so much. God said to Moses, what do you have in your hand? What do you have in your hand? Sometimes you think it's some kind of drop from heaven or something, but what do you have in your hand? You use what you have, God will do the miracle. We are the one to plant, we are the one to water, but God, He gives the growth and He gives the seed. Yes. Yes? You have
No.
questions?
The device is not working.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw the avocado on the ground as a vine. Is that how you grow avocados there? Because avocado is a tree.
On the ground or in the...
Well, they have just been taking them down. They want to shake them down.
Yeah.
They were up in the tree
Oh,
harvesting
okay.
avocados.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if they get damaged by falling down. I think they do,
No,
but
not too bad. Not
Okay.
using it.
so the best is to harvest them. But they use them. They eat them in the Bible school. There's not even enough for exporting. But we want to plant some like 20 acres with avocado trees and moringa trees, different kinds of fruit garden, also mango trees, and have this irrigation system. We believe that in the next couple of years we will have an irrigation system on that first field we saw there, so we can show people how to do it. It's how it does. Yes.
Do you see? There are crops in Africa. There is in the international market, or they just grow for themselves.
Well, of course, the first thing is that they have enough for their own food supply. Tanzania needs to improve more food because their lack of 3% of food every year, and it's increasing. So Chris and me was down to see a Australian farmer that want to revive a big farm in Tanzania that kind of crashed, to revive it and then get it up running again. It's a farm that has 5,818 hectares. That is 13,000 acres. So that's a huge farm. So by getting those back on feet again, it can turn around the situation in the country. But they also want to do some export because of this safflower. Most of it goes for export, and also the sunflower. Some of that goes for export, and because the country needs a crop, they need cash also for it.
So they'll be importing from overseas, soybeans, corn, all those kind of things.
They grow soybeans also in Tanzania,
Okay.
but not enough. They import more soybeans than they grow for the food. But they grow these ordinary beans, red beans, kidney beans, and different kinds of. They also grow something other called. That's a kind of bean that is very resistant to drought. I forgot the name of it. It's not moringa beans. No, I forgot the name right now. But the thing is to get some areas where they only have one harvest a year. You can come up by using safflower, because safflower you plant in the end of the rainy season. If it's planted too early, it will be destroyed by rain because the flowers cannot stand rain. So you have to plant in the end of the rainy season. So if you have something to grow before, in the middle of the rainy season, you grow some beans or something, can harvest it quick and then plant safflower. Then you have 2 crops a year in an area where you normally have 1 harvest. So that's.
What's the water table in the area?
The water table in that area where we saw this is somewhere. It's something like 100 feet down. So that's very deep down. You have to go very deep down to it, and you have to drill for water. We want to drill for water. We've done it once. We missed. We didn't have water. It was just dry. But we got another company now. They say we'll drill down to 180 meter. What is that? That is something like 500 feet or something. Yeah.
So
That's-
how can we pray for you? What your needs are?
Well, pray that we will have, because we need some funds for buying these greenhouses, making a dam, and this drilling for water, the borehole. That will be something around $10,000 for that borehole, and then we're gonna dig out a dam with a bulldozer so we can have water in the dam. And then we can start irrigating, and then of course pipes and solar power for pumping up the water. That is our need right now, so that we can, because it's not so impossible for local people to buy drip irrigation. Drip irrigation, they use it in Israel, and it saves a lot of water. You need only maybe 30 to 50% of the water you normally use if you have a pivot, or even more if you're used to have flooding of water. So irrigation system is something that we want to introduce. It's not so expensive. For 1 acre, you can get it quite cheap for a farmer if they can save the money. And that's many times the problem. They don't save money. They use the money, and then they have no money. If they can put the money aside, save or get a short-time loan or something like that, that's also something you want to think of the profit of the farm, our farm, that we can have some money in the bank, that we can say to the farmers, you can get a loan here of this money, and you can pay back little by little. So that's some of the ideas we have of these micro loans, and that is very popular. That helps a lot of farmers to get started, because many times they cannot get started because they don't have the money for it. Yes.
One question.
Yeah.
Eu sei que é um desafio, mas
I know it's a challenge.
me fala qual foi o momento mais difícil seu lá.
Tell me, what's your most difficult time there?
The biggest challenge we have,
Big challenge
Yeah.
did you have there?
that's tradition.
Tradition.
We don't use it.
Wow.
That's the difficult. It's not the weather, it's not the climate. It's that we used to do like this. The tradition. Sometimes my granddad, he used to plant 3 corns in one hole, three seed in one hole. He said, don't only plant one seed and then spread them a little bit. But tradition is really an enemy.
Yeah.
I remember first time we grew carrots. And the people said, what is this? Carrots? That smells, it doesn't, And we introduced to the Bible school, and then the student didn't eat anything because it smells. Carrots is something new. But you know what? Today, people are eating carrots. But it takes 15 years to learn them, to train them to eat carrots.
15 years.
So, tradition, 15 years.
Yeah, wow.
Something like that. Someone still don't eat carrot. But tradition is our worst enemy, what we used to. Let me talk about something they did from Norway.
That's totally kingdom.
A Norwegian project. They were training young people. They took 2 young men from every village, and they were training them in how to plow with oxen. So they could plow, and they gave those 2 young people, they gave them a cow and a plow, and then they should plow 10, 20 acres with that plow. And then they came back later to see how things was working. They found the plow was standing, the cow was slaughtered and been eaten, and then these young people said, what happened? So say, because our elders said, don't disturb the spirit of our forefathers.
Right.
If you go deeper than 2 inches, you are disturbing the spirit of our forefathers. So that's why Christianity and agriculture belongs together.
Yeah.
Because if you don't deal with something, tradition and demonic things in the culture, you cannot do anything. Because those young people, they would like to plow, but the elders said, no, you cannot go down and disturb the spirit of our forefather. So we are up against something. So there's something, I haven't shown it here, but when we got this land, we had a big service out there, praising Jesus, and then we had Holy Communion, and we dedicated this land, and we broke all evil spirits over this land, and said, this is land, this is God's land now. And that's the best fertilizer we can give a land.
Yes, yes.
It is. You can do a lot of things if you don't have God in it.
Right, right.
Yes.
What kind of weather do they have there, and how many times per year they have a harvest?
How many what?
Times per year.
Grams per year
How
have a
many
harvest.
times per year?
Well, in
they
that
have a
area,
harvest?
we can only plant one time a year, but hopefully we can do it 2 times. If we get irrigation system, we can do even 3 times a year, because the climate is always.
Is the natural resources for water close by, or just you have to dig?
We have in the rainy season, we have a river that comes up, but it's only there for a short while. Some years it never comes because of the lack of rain. But this year it's there. So actually you could store that, you could dig out a dam and store that water for a while, and we have that. But we need also to have some boreholes so we can, because there's a lot of water in the underground, and that's the stupid thing. Sometimes, some places in Africa, it's like it's built on a lake.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And you could just take it up, and I heard up in Kenya, in North Kenya, there's a kind of lake that you just go down 200 feet down, and then you have water supply. You can pump for 50 years, and it will only sink like 4 or 5 inches of that water because it's so plenty of water. So Africa has a lot of water, not on the surface, but underneath. So that's yeah. Another question.
How do you control weeds? Do they use herbicides?
Well, normally local people they use a hoe and to by hand. But that's a great job. And the problem is the spacing, because tradition also say you can only plant 2 corn per square meter. We say you can plant 8. We say, oh, it's going to be too close. It's going to be hot in between, and it's take too much water. But the thing is that the wheat takes the water instead of, if there's only 2 and they have a lot of work to weed, and then of course they have this soil is exposed for the sunlight again if you have poor population of the corn. Yes, so but we use pesticides and herbicides for taking out the weed. And then you can do this. We want to change to non-till so that we just roll it down and then have a planter with knives so that we can plant in this kind of blanket. What do you say of the there's something called sun hemp. You can plant. It comes up like this, and then when it flowers, you can just roll it down and plant in that. And it should be producing also nitrogen to the soil, because something like I think there's something like 166 kilo of nitrogen per acre we can produce. So then we don't need to buy a lot of fertilizer. Yes. Yes.
É possível, você disse que precisa de $10 mil.
He's asking about the money that you need to dig, to have drill.
The actual drill costs around $10,000, and then we need the equipment, and then we need solar powers for pumping up the water. But all in all, this stage we are in, we need something like up to $70,000-$80,000 for that. We thought maybe we would produce us with that money. That was our idea. But if it goes too slowly, if we get kickstarted, then we said when we get the farm running, we will pay that money back into the kingdom.
Yeah.
You know, if we get some funds now to get started quick, when we produce, when we have a harvest, we will send it back to the kingdom, to the Bible school, expand the Bible school, and build churches.
Yeah.
That's our vision.
Yeah.
Because so many things die because it's a project with some money for 3 years, and then when the money is out, the project falls down. We want to say we are not dependent on support. We just say the Kickstarter. Give us some equipment, like the combine. Give us some equipment, and we'll work
Make it work.
and they will do it. And that's something different. Yes.
Esses 10 mil dólares beneficiar quantas pessoas?
And how many people will help with this money?
We hope that it can influence and give help up to 1,000 people. Just this. That it will influence. Not some will, like these women, they get work and they're happy because in the dry season you can't get work anywhere. So if we have something job for them to do, to put on this lime or then they have some salary in the middle of the dry season. So they're very happy for that. But we believe that in the future it's going to give jobs to about 1,000 people in that area.
Yeah.
When it's built out and everything.
Então, eu poderia arrumar uns 2 ou 3 empresários para te ajudar lá? Você receberia esse pessoal lá para ver?
If it's possible, I take 2 or 3 businessmen from Brazil to go there to see and think in a way to help you. To help you.
Welcome.
Não, eu pergunto assim, entrar no país tem facilidade?
It's easy to go to the country. Is what I think is better talking about that after, because you have to know how to set up everything for take people to there to know how to.
There are some seasons. For example, in dry season you don't see much, but in the rainy season like now, from this February, March, and up to June, July, then mostly is the things are growing. So of course I'm traveling there 4 or 5 times a year. I live in Denmark, but I go back because this is my baby. So I started it back in '84, and I still follow it. Yes.
How do you get repairs for the equipment?
Oh, that's a good question. We have a workshop. We have a workshop. We can do welding and everything, and we can repair most everything. And but if we got a problem with the wobbler box, the combine this harvest season, then we have to go up to Arusha. That is one day drive up, and we're gonna fix up there. But there are some spare parts we need to have. We need to have in stock, belts and something that so that we found out that this other project, they have John Deere combines and they have John Deere similar to our. So we can share spare parts. They have a lot of spare parts, so we can pull on if that's necessary. You had a question down there.
Yeah, how do you minister to the older elders, to the elders?
Yeah.
How do you reach them first, or do you reach the young people first, or how do you get them to change their thinking? How are you?
One
Because
said
that's-
sometimes the generation has to die.
Yes, that's true.
Because you cannot change the old generation,
Yeah.
their mindset in some of them, you cannot change. But the thing is, if the new generation is not affected by the old generation's mindset, and they get, first of all they get Jesus,
Yeah.
and then they see how it works. It's demonstrated, not just told, but it's demonstrated.
Right.
That's like the Christian life. You can say a lot about Jesus.
Yeah.
If it's not demonstrated in you, if the light is darkness, they won't believe you.
Right.
So God works with miracles, and also in the field and everything. just this one told me, one of the elders of this village, he told me when he saw the corn, we would never have believed this. What you have done is a miracle, he said. So I don't say all the elders have to die before, but I say someone they will be. Well, this is really changing something, and I have a great respect of the elders in our village. The Christians elders, that's something else, but the heathen elders, they're kind of into very much occult thing. They try to dig down small branches, small inside the road, so our tractor would have a flat tire. They put down demon spirits so that we have an accident with the tractor and everything. One of our tractor driver, I shouldn't maybe not tell this, he got blind for 3 hours because of witchcraft. He had to stop. He was blind. He could not see anything. And then we prayed, and then his sight came back. So we are up against sometimes some very heavy, dark spirits that don't want life. So what we are up against is, we have attack of wild hogs into our field also. So this is spiritual battle also. So that's why I say this, that the challenge is not the climate, the challenge is the tradition and the darkness.
I am an intercessor, and in a lot of my travels around the United States, I've been led to pray for the land that I drive through.
Amen. Yes.
And it's like, well, does it really do any good? And a few of those years, within a year to 2 years, I started hearing reports that crops were bumper crops, and that God was blessing the land. And I appreciate you confirming that that's very important, that we need to pray for the land and ask God to cleanse it. We need to pray for the farmers, that they have the wisdom they need. Thank you. I'm not called to Africa. I'm not even a farmer, but you've confirmed that it's very important for us to bless the land.
Without God's guidance,
Yeah.
I think we would be lost in this, because if the Lord does not build the house, the builder builds in vain.
Yeah.
And we had when I was to a conference in Kenya, then a South African pastor came up to me. He had a prophetic word. And a lady in our church had a dream about this land, and she saw a kind of blue ribbon around it, a kind of blue ribbon, and she didn't understand what does that blue ribbon meant. So I talked to this prophetic pastor from South Africa. So the blue ribbon means that it's a gift to you, and nobody can take it away. So we are standing on that word, even though that we have been struggling with the paperwork of getting this lease. It should take a half year, but now 3 years has gone, and they're still, back and forth. These the authorities, because it's so much land, you have to go to this office and this office. So they're trying to run us tired. But we're going to get this land, we're going to get the paperwork done. That's a struggle also we have, because there's so much corruption. Everybody wants a little.
Just a little.
Child. I have a field you could plow. That's another story. but we are up against some things. Thank you for praying for us, because this is a spiritual battle. This is because demonic. They want people to die. So of course, if field agriculture brings life to people, then the enemy, then the spirits are against it. Tradition. Yes. I hope this was helpful for you.
Very much so.
And please pray for us. It's a great blessing for us to be connected to you all here in Haslund, and we feel that we are a great family all over the world.
Awesome.
Yes. Thank you.